Your Result As You Feel is the 12th episode of the second season of the Doris Day Show, directed by Dobkin. And this one is actually not as funny as a lot of the episodes. I feel like this one's quite a bit more serious and a little bit more emotional. Buck has a toothache and he doesn't want to go to the dentist, he doesn't want to get the tooth out. He's had good dental hygiene up until this point, so he's starting to realize that he's getting older and he starts to feel his age. And he spends pretty much all of the episode depressed in his room, in his robes, just miserable because he's realized he's getting on in years and that's hard for anybody to deal with. And Doris spends most of the episode trying to cheer him up, finding ways to make him feel better. And when that doesn't work, she enlists the help of somebody else, a character called Merle, played by Hal Smith, and she tries to get Hal to run the farm in Buck's place. But Merle is not going to be very good at this, and the hope was that Buck would find out about this and realize that actually he can't let Merle run the farm; it'll fall apart. He should get back to his old self and get on with it. But things don't necessarily go according to plan. Is there anything else Doris can do? I won't say any more than that about the narrative. I've already given away quite a bit, but I mean, it's emotional for the most part. I felt sad when watching it, which is not the feeling I normally want to have when I'm watching the Doris Day Show. That's not to say there isn't comedy, but I found it to be more moving and also uplifting, actually. Doris gives this great speech, Doris Martin, about how age and getting older, yes, can affect you physically, but it's also how you feel about it and how you respond to it. Buck was only starting to feel his age because he became aware of it. Whereas before that, he wasn't thinking about it, so it didn't affect him. Obviously, aging does affect us physically, but I like the fact that it kind of says the episode really helps to highlight that if you don't let it affect you when it doesn't have to, then it doesn't affect you. And this is what we get to see with Buck. Obviously, in the previous episodes, he wasn't really aware of his age, so he was still able to live a full life. It's only because he's let it affect him that it's affecting him, which I hope makes sense. But it certainly made sense in the episode. And the episode doesn't say age is just in your head, because that's not true. But with Buck, that was definitely the case. And I think it handled the subject very well, very sensitively. The fact that it was really quite serious and really quite upsetting because of how Buck responded to it, I think is very realistic and shows that you can't necessarily just make fun of somebody, for getting old. It's quite a common thing when somebody gets older and they have a birthday, you tell a joke about them getting older, but actually it can affect them. And it can affect people in ways that they might not actually be showing. Or with Buck, it's all they can feel and all they can think about once they realize it. Once the penny drops that they've reached a certain age, it can be quite difficult and challenging. And I think they handled it very well. A very well written episode. A lot of really great things in this, a lot of food for thought. And I enjoyed it. Not for the same reason that I usually enjoy the Doris Day Show. Normally it's funny, light-hearted. Most episodes have a serious message in it or something moving, but this one, the only other episode that I can think of that's kind of like this was an episode, I think at the end of season one, that focused on Juanita. And pretty much all of that episode was quite depressing. So, two episodes out of 30 something that aren't that light-hearted is not bad going. A little bit of seriousness every now and then can do us all good. Hal Smith was brilliant as Merle. Doris Day was obviously as fantastic as always. And also, it was great to have most of this set at home. We only get a tiny bit of Doris at work, which is not usually the balance of things in season two, so that was quite nice as well. Definitely a different but a really good episode.